I created the Hult Prize when I was just a student, very much like you guys here today. I was just off of a career in Wall Street. I did my undergraduate and then went to work in New York, trading financial stocks and paper. And then the great, they call it the Great Recession, happened in the United States in 2007, 2008. And I found myself in a place where I either had to leave my job or find something new that I wanted to do. So I decided to go back to business school. I went to the Hult International Business School. I felt like my world was very small. I didn't have many friends in Latin America or Asia. I had a lot of friends in the Middle East because I'm originally Palestinian. So I went to school and I began looking during my MBA for an opportunity to do good and make money. I didn't want to do one or the other. And I looked and I looked and I didn't find anything. So like any good entrepreneur, I said to myself, you know, I bet there's young people like me who also want opportunities to have a job that helps society and also makes money, because money makes the world go round. So I created a company. That company today is now known as the Hult Prize. That company brought young people together to think about new ways to create businesses that could do good and do well, for good, for profit. And by the end of our first year, I still hadn't graduated, a man by the name of Bertel Hult called me. He's a billionaire. And he said, pack 3 days worth of clothes and come to Switzerland, where he lives. So I did that. And the story goes, I walked out with a briefcase full of cash and built what we now know as the Hult Prize. Yeah, it's not really being an entrepreneur. It's the skills. It's the inquisitive mind. It's the being a problem solver. You know, knowing how to have vision, knowing what you don't know is very important. You know, in building, I didn't know 10 years ago. It's been a decade. What the Hult Prize would look like today. And in fact, you know, 2 years ago, I didn't know what the Hult Prize looked like today. So the Hult Prize used to be the largest startup program for young people who want to create the impact enterprise. Huge numbers, over 100,000 participants every year, $1 million prize, 6-week accelerator program inside of a castle. You know, all the nice features. But for me, the being inquisitive, you know, that desire, having that, what do we call today, the Hult Prize mindset. Not just having purpose, not just having grit, as well as having an empathy mindset where, you know, you understand the consequences of your actions. You understand putting yourself in the customer's shoes, the beneficiary's shoes. But it's about, for me, the learning outcome. So we developed a new program called Hult Prize University, and that's will drive us into the next decade. Because for me, it wasn't just about running the world's biggest accelerator program and startup company for entrepreneurs. It was about making more entrepreneurs, teaching young people how to have inquisitive minds and demonstrate the things that made me successful as an entrepreneur. Yeah, what makes the Hult Prize unique is our, I think, adaptability to take young students who never before thought they were destined for a career of entrepreneurship and equip them with the basic skills required, as well as inspire them with enough motivation to believe that they really could be an entrepreneur.
It's more like showing that they got like a whole world outside.
Exactly. While most other prize organizations or training companies or startup funds or accelerators, whatever category you think we fit into, they don't create. None of them create. They identify. So they take people who were already destined for greatness or for a startup,
to seek for more,
and then they say, oh, you know, you're the best. You know, I pick you. We don't do that. We take everybody, and I don't care what your idea is. To start the Hult Prize, we don't care. You don't even have to have an idea. First round, No idea required.
Right from scratch.
You start with you, because you is more important than the outcome of your business. Because if you don't have the right mindset, if you don't believe in the future that you can build for your peers, for yourself, for your family, for your society, then what's the point? So that's our most unique. Second is we're an organization that's run by young people. We have 2,500 staff, volunteers around the world. We have, maybe this year we'll eclipse 20,000 students who organize, just organize, around the world, who volunteer to, recruit, to do PR, to do media, social media. That's the largest student workforce in the world. And third, I think Hult Prize is a great CEO. So I think as I've always taken the advice we give our entrepreneurs, which is never fall in love with your idea, never be scared to fail, fail fast. We don't spend time taking decisions. We just do things. I tell the team all the time, just don't waste my time. Don't, just go. Yeah, I mean, look, the Hult Prize has moved from, a small group of students and a project to a full-blown corporation with revenue and with a balance sheet and with, expenses and payroll, being called the Nobel Prize for students. I mean, that's great. I couldn't think of a better and more humbling title. I'm pleased with the path, but I'm more optimistic about what more we can do. I think the potential of the Hult Prize, even though we're long accomplished and we're number one in our sector, I always joke, I think we're just getting started. And I think you'll see in the next decade, our next 10 years, we'll have 10 times the impact we've had in the first 10.
Project.
Sure, it's a program, and there's a pitch, and there's a winner, et cetera. But this is literally 10% of what we do, and the 90 of the inspiration and the education and the training and the celebration of young people. That's the bulk of what we do. I don't actually care who wins, because it's such a small part of our program. What we've seen here in Mexico is we have seen young people say that they can be entrepreneurs, and they're now equipped with skills that allows them to not just be job seekers, but also be job creators. We've seen the government tell us that you've ignited in our government the idea of entrepreneurship. Universities are taking our curriculum and they teach it, and they inspire their students to learn about how to create value, how to have impact, how to change the world through business. So those are the things we're most proud of in Mexico, and today we have more than 10,000 participants across Mexico. We're basically inside of every single university in this country, and not only have we influenced a nation, but that nation has inspired the entire continent. Okay, so all of Latin America today is looking at, South America at large is looking at this model as the model of the future of young people. 100%. I mean, young people are tomorrow's consumer. They're tomorrow's CEO. They're today's influencer. We have young people in positions of influence, and that's important to us at the Hult Prize. They're requiring them to have diplomas and degrees.
Yeah, exactly.
That's stupid. The leading companies in the world don't have prerequisites for degrees. Google has announced that it doesn't matter if you've graduated college or not. What's more important is the acquisition of skills. Negotiation, marketing strategy, digital media. Do you know how to create a marketing campaign? You know how to write a proposal? If your university doesn't teach you how to write a business proposal, and you're in communication, business, marketing, finance, then you should quit school. And you should spend your time achieving those skills. What we have decided to do at Hult Prize was supplement. So we supplement. We realize that universities are not as good in some areas as others. So in those areas where they lack, like negotiation, team building, dynamics, innovation, how to develop a breakthrough product, how to move an idea to market, you don't learn any of these things in college. But those are the most fundamental skills you need to get a job. And that's called the skills gap. And for us, we're just going into universities and teaching that on your home campus starting in January. We'll launch Hult Prize University, and that will go into university campuses, and you might see me as a lecturer in your school. I mean, there's not one silver bullet in terms of the problems that we face today as society. We face a number of issues. Mostly, the driving force is capitalism, pure capitalism. The good news is that pure capitalism will actually be the driving force for the change as well. Capitalism is a function of its participants. And today's world has participants who love money above all things. The millennial generation, however, represents a new view of what capitalism is going to be. We are looking at a market where young people are beginning to dictate the future of how corporations behave, what kind of products they sell, what kind of people they hire, what kind of decisions they make that impact the environment. And no longer will young people choose to buy those products and services from companies which are not ethical, which are not socially responsible, which aren't designed for impact. So, while I can't tell you, hey, it's this problem or the other, I can tell you that capitalism is the driving force. But luckily for us, that the spending powers and spending behaviors of those that control the money are changing. There's a lot of issues with education. The biggest is that the way our university systems are designed worldwide, this is the same whether you're in the US, Mexico, or Lebanon, is that they're very much institutionalized. And even though the top professors and administrators in universities realize there's a skills gap and there's a gap in their young people's ability to retain the training and the skills that they need to go out and be successful in the workplace, it's so bureaucratic that they're unable to move fast enough to where the young people can have outcomes. So there's two ways to look at it. You can either abandon university, or universities who are more proactive and open-minded in the 21st century are working with companies like mine. And they're saying, look, how can we bring the Hult Prize in to supplement the education so that they teach the theory, we teach the immersion, the action-based curriculum that actually gets young people to acquire the knowledge that they need to formidably tackle the skills gap. Yeah, I mean, that's my specialty. One of the areas that are two core courses in the Hult Prize University are pitching with impact and creating value. So pitching, very simple. I follow a 5-step methodology for pitching. Number one is identifying the problem, and that may not be the macro level problem that your industry of your startup or your idea is going into. It's more of the problem. So you may say, in Mexico we ran out of water last week. That's the high level problem. So you might want to just introduce that. But then the next is the introduction of why, the lever, I call it the lever of the problem. So you might say poor financial policy is what actually led to the water, right? And then the third step would be to actually identify solutions very clearly to solving the micro level problem. So you go macro, micro, the levers of the macro problem effectively, then the solution, and then how it works, why it works, for steps 4 and 5. Very simple. And then you can present all types of other information, go to market, revenue, etc. But I really want to understand big problem, micro problem, solution, how it works, why it works, and then, of course, you can get into scale and revenue. Simple. I've received a lot of great advice from a lot of different people. Probably the best of the best is this idea of failing often and failing fast. So whenever you're creating a business or you're trying to make a decision in your life, a lot of time is wasted deciding whether I should take this decision or take that decision. But the reality is, if the decision is reversible, then it doesn't matter which way you go. The important thing is to collect the evidence and the data and be able to apply that back to your business, to your idea, to your growth. So fail often and fail fast. Oh, that's a good question. Did you practice that one? I would tell myself to follow the path that is closest to your passion. And whether I did that or not, from 18 to 36, I don't know. But definitely, I know there was times where I might have been misguided by the things, the objects of reality that I thought were important because somebody else told me they're important. I was just having a conversation with my colleagues. When you're truly liberated, you just don't give a shit. I mean, that's the key. And it took me a long time to get there, where you're following your heart, but you're doing so, you're being guided by your mind. And in my 18-year-old self, I would just reaffirm that don't spend one day doing something that you don't love, because that one day you'll never get back. And that's what I try to tell young people around the world. Time is the only thing in life you can't have back. This hour, with you, it's done. I will never see that again. So it's a pleasure, speaking with young people, and you're putting together this film that will hopefully get out to more young people. So I would, I know that in those last 18 years, I've wasted time. In the last 10, I don't think I wasted a day, honestly. But maybe I could get some of that time back. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. You tell me. What's next? Look, here's what I know. We've created a great platform with the Hult Prize. We've created a great brand. We had the benefit of being able to influence a large number of people, and that's addictive. So we want to do more of that. So in the next decade, I'm looking to have at minimum 10x the impact we've had in the previous 10 years. But that may or may not be just with the Hult Prize. We've launched a company called Falafel Inc., which is the #1 quick service falafel shop now in America. It's empowering and feeding refugees. We want to feed tens of millions of refugees a year through that business. We're working on a clothing line, which is going to, again, have the same characteristics and model of the future enterprise and millennials, working on some peer-to-peer tech as well. So, being in my position is great because all people do is pitch me ideas. So I have the great opportunity to spend more time with so many young people on their great companies and their great ideas. And I say we, when I say we're building this and building that, because I'm very much engaged in a number of different startups and technology companies that are having great impact on the world. Guys and girls, it's all about mindset. Don't be afraid to challenge everything you know about your life, where you're going, your goals, and dare to dream. Because oftentimes we think dreaming is just for the few. We think entrepreneurship is for the privileged. You need to test yourself, because I think you'll be shocked and pleasantly surprised about not just the opportunities you'll find, but the number of people which will help you achieve those opportunities. Really, the sky is the limit, and I wish everybody the best of luck, and hopefully you can be as inspired as I am every time I meet new young people around the world committed to change and impact.